Hi, we're here with Renny Reynolds, and I am going to get him to sign my book today, I think. Right, Renny?
Absolutely, of course I will. Love to.
It's wonderful. Renny is a board member at Bucks Beautiful, and we are at his beautiful paradise that he has created with his partner. And we are going to take a beautiful walk through his perennial gardens. Now, it is a little late for perennials, isn't it, Renny?
It is late.
But
you
we're
should come
catching
back
it.
in the spring or summer when the perennial borders are at their height. But what we've done is, because we're a garden open to the public, we've tried to make sure that there's something in bloom all the time. So, you know, one neat tip about having perennial borders, if you're just starting out, is keep going to your local nurseryman, hopefully not the box stores, but your local garden center or nurseryman, and pick things that are in flower at that time, and then go back in 2 weeks and 2 weeks and 2 weeks. And that way you'll end up with a perennial border that's in bloom throughout the whole season.
That's a great idea.
So
And that's
there you go.
really easy to do, isn't it?
It's
That's
really
like
easy
perfect.
to do. Absolutely.
This is a godsend meeting him,
And what-
because I use this book in creating my paradise at my house. And if you
Great.
don't have this book, please get it in your arsenal of your garden books. It's absolutely beautiful, and it also is
It's called Chasing Eden.
Chasing
You missed
Eden.
that part.
Yes, Chasing Eden. I'm
The
sorry.
salesman here. Sorry.
Yes, the Chasing Eden. The pictures are absolutely lovely. But what I like about this, Renny, is that it does have the do's and don'ts and your thoughts and your wisdom in this book.
Right.
So that has helped me out immensely. I took all my little Post-it notes out of here because I didn't want to, I was kind of embarrassed to show them that I use
Well,
this.
that's great.
So thank you. So let's go on and walk through the perennial area.
So what we've done is, I've always been enamored of the English gardens, both the perennial gardens, but going back to Capability Brown and Humphrey Repton, and then into the 20th century with the wonderful garden designers that they've had all throughout the 20th century. And I've had the great good fortune to get to know a number of them. And learning from them about their years of wisdom of doing perennial borders. And so with this perennial border, it's very English inspired. We've kept it to the calm, serene colors of pinks, blues, lavenders, grays, and white. So now if you see a yellow flower in there, I'm sorry, but I don't think you will actually. We have saved the hot colors for the summer borders that are out by the pool. And that'll be the yellows and oranges and reds, which are the hotter colors, and they'll be blooming through July and August. But these borders bloom pretty much all throughout the season. You're seeing some phlox still left, some white asters, some more phlox over there. Come this way and let's take a look at some Hearty Begonias. One of the things also that's really important about when you're thinking about doing any part of your garden, this is Sadie, by the way. Can you see Sadie? Say hi,
Hi,
darling.
Sadie. She's
Follows
lovely.
us everywhere in the garden. I wanted to show you these plants over here because these are Hearty Begonias. One of the easiest plants, other than the fact that deer love them. You know, you've got to protect these from the deer. But they self-seed. It's called Begonia Grandis if you're going into your garden center to look for it. And it starts blooming sort of late August. And look at what's going on now with sort of not a whole lot else going on in the perennial borders. We have Lesbodisa, another really not that well-known plant. It's a huge shrub. And this was all covered with lavender flowers, absolutely spectacular. Lavender pink flowers. I think there's one called Pink Fountain, but and then over here, let's go to the sedum.
I love sedum.
And there's Autumn Joy, which starts off as a much more pink
Yes.
plant, is looking absolutely fantastic through the season. That'll keep going till really deep frost. And this is a great shrub right here. It's a Rose of Sharon, but it's variegated Rose of Sharon, and it has a pale pink flower that with these variegated leaves, the variegated leaves have a sort of soft grayish color to them, along with the white variegation. And the pale pink flowers, this is so covered, you can practically not even see the foliage when it's in bloom. Spectacular
and I
plant.
think Rose of Sharon is really one of those bushes that people sort of ignore because they remember it as an old-time plant
Right.
at their grandmom's house.
Exactly.
But it is an absolutely beautiful species.
It's
And
wonderful.
this is gorgeous.
It's really wonderful. Even some roses still blooming. And then, of course, the hydrangeas. Once again, you've got to, although, you know, this year everyone's saying the deer didn't eat their hydrangeas this year. I don't know whether they somehow lost their taste for it or, but we found here that with all of what the deer have eaten, the hydrangeas they've left alone for some strange reason.
How do you like your asters? I see some asters
love
in here,
asters.
and I love asters. It is such a beautiful color pop, especially at this time of year.
It is, and what's happening here, keep in mind what I said a moment ago too about foliage. Foliage color is so important. I actually prefer this plant when it doesn't bloom. It's stackies, and it has such wonderful foliage color for the garden that you sort of don't even need it to bloom. But a great aster in here for fall foliage, for fall flower color.
It's
And there's just a few of these left. If you can see that Chelone leonii, what is it called? Lipstick plant. I have enough trouble remembering the scientific names without remembering the
I'm
common
impressed.
names.
It's good.
Because you can really get mixed up with the common names, but this is Chelone, C-H-E-L-O-N-E, L-Y-O-N-I-I, Chelone leonii. And
Very
you can
different.
see that that was all a flower spike a few minutes ago, and the wonderful seed pods
Oh,
from
I love them.
Baptisia.
Baptisia
This
is
was all
wonderful.
Baptisia in there. So,
I love it. The fall soon to go.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely lovely.
Another one of my children,
And what's his her name?
that's Parker.
Parker. Very happy Parker.
Very happy Parker.
I love the feeling of these wonderful rooms, Renny. It has a different feeling every time you turn a corner. I love that you designed your place that way. I enjoy when I walk around. It's very easy on the eye. And I always
thank you.
wonder what's going to be around the corner, you
Good.
know?
Well, you know, landscape architecture is very similar to architecture, and if you have the space, with this property, I have 100 acres, so to move you around through gardens on 100 acres, and I felt that because it was that size, we should respect that and each area relate to that scale of a garden or that scale of a property. So you can look at this perennial border as you would, I was starting to say that landscape architecture is so much like architecture. You can look at this perennial border like a hallway that leads down to the living room. So what creates interest when you're doing garden design is narrow spaces opening to wider spaces. It's sort of like taking in texture of plants, color of plants, and
Yes.
so forth. It's the varying of the scale of those spaces and the way you lay them out that creates interest in movement through a garden.
Sounds easier when you say it, but it is difficult. And that's why this wonderful Chasing Eden is a great book to get to find out how to do this. Renny, I thank you so very much.
You're
for
quite
this
welcome.
interview. It
I was
a
going to
pleasure.
point out one more plant.
Please, definitely.
That buddleia is such a great plant. It's butterfly bush, attracting butterflies. I'm sorry we don't see any on it at the moment, but it comes in the best colors. This one's obviously white, but there's royal, there are all these great purples into lavenders into pinks. They've created great hybrids of buddleia now. So
And it's a great native plant for our native bees. And
yes,
things like that,
exactly, a
too.
terrific pollinator.
It's a wonderful pollinator. Is it a native? I don't know.
I don't know. I heard you say that.
I don't know if it's a native. It might be a native, but I know that around my place, I have to keep it back too because it
Right.
tends to just do its thing. But it is a wonderful
Well,
plant
cut
for
it back
pollinators.
to about 16 inches above the ground every year.
That's a good note.
Yep,
Thank
that way
you.
it stays full.
Thank you so very much, Renny. Thank you. And will
You're
you
quite
sign my book?
welcome. Absolutely.
You signed my book. Thank you so very much, Renny.
Thank you for coming today.